The sunlight creeps through the tall, thin windows of the courtroom, glinting off the highly polished wooden surfaces and reflecting off the brass fittings of the judge's bench. The air has a faint scent of paper, coffee, and fear, an atmosphere so charged it feels like it's pushing against everyone in the room. Kody Brown enters, immaculately groomed but clearly strained, his hands fluttering at his sides. His normal calm demeanor is replaced by a still, seething tension. Today is not another day in court. Today is the day secrets long buried have a chance to be revealed, and Kody can feel the heavy weight of all the consequences bearing down on him. On the other side of the courtroom, Christine sits stiffly in her seat. Her arms are folded tightly against her chest, lips forced into a thin line. Her eyes flash with a barely suppressed fury, and she leans forward to her lawyer, whispering something that makes Kody's gut twist. All her glances in his direction hold years of pain, aggravation, and unvoiced accusations. Meri is seated a couple of seats away, clasping her hands so tightly the knuckles have lost all color. Her eyes are focused somewhere between Kody and the ground, as if preparing to meet some impact that she can't escape. Janelle's stance is rigid, a careful balancing act between incredulity and worry. She glances from Kody to Christine, from Robyn, and back again, attempting to take in the tempest that's about to brew. Robyn, who sits a little off to the side from the others, exudes a sort of unholy serenity. But her gaze, keen and calculating, speaks volumes about the understanding that she could be the key to the unraveling of the entire family scenario. Her fingers are neatly clasped in her lap, but beneath the surface, there is tension building like a spring about to break. The courtroom clerk slams the session into order, and a silence descends upon the room, the ring of the gavel crashing harshly off the walls. The judge, a lean man with silver threads in his hair and cold eyes, leans forward over the bench. His glare is unwavering, sweeping across each face as if driving the truth out of them. Every gesture, every murmured word, seems to be amplified in his presence. The prosecution initiates the case with soothing, measured care, each phrase weighed to extract its maximum effect. This case, the lawyer starts, voice flat but cold, is one of trust shattered, promises shattered, and consequences for doing things behind the closed doors. The phrases linger in the air like a heavy mist, settling upon the courtroom like something palpable. The gallery softly murmurs, each onlooker feeling the weight of what is to be. Christine stands first to testify. She moves toward the stand with slow, measured steps, each one sounding in the hush. Her hands shake a little as she touches the edge of the witness stand. "I believed him," she starts, her voice cracking just a little to show the depth of her hurt. "I believed him with everything. And now—" She struggles to swallow, fending off tears as she flashes Kody a hard and accusatory look. "And now, I don't know if I can ever trust anyone again." Kody stands to address her, struggling to keep his facade composed as he speaks of years of family conflicts, compromises and choices never easy to make. His voice is firm at first, but cracks as he gets into moments of private regret and guilt. He is not just defending what he has done, he is defending the tenuous integrity of his family, a brittle balance that he has strained to preserve for decades. His eyes lock with Christine's in the room, and for a moment, an unspoken recognition of mutual suffering passes between them. The prosecutor continues, taking Kody down a path of questions crafted to unpick his story. Every response is picked apart, scrutinized for contradiction, challenged with biting follow-ups. Kody's stance becomes rigid, sweat gathering at the back of his neck. The gallery hovers in, enthralled by each utterance, each pause. Tension in the room is tangible, viscous enough to lick, and each participant feels that day's disclosures might upset the entire apple cart. Meri shifts a little in her chair, her fingers folding in her lap. She is torn in a silent struggle, duty to Kody, compassion for Christine, and the wish to stay out of it, yet she senses the walls coming down. Janelle shifts marginally, observing every exchange, every flash of feeling, as if attempting to guess what will happen next. Robyn, always calm, listens to Kody with keen interest, her thoughts evidently already racing ahead, working out the implications of every remark. The pace of the courtroom becomes strained, a measured, slow beat broken only by the occasional scratching of notes, the sharp catch of breath or the hushed rustle of papers. The audience is all but silent, their attention riveted on every word, knowing that what occurs here is not merely a legal case, It is the exposing of a family's underlying fissures. Christine's testimony darkens when she describes individual instances of treachery, secret choices, and intimate discussions that Kody had thought would never be heard. She switches from mournful to accusatory, and each word rings true, piercing the facade of routine that Kody had worked so diligently to uphold. Kody answers back, trying to explain, to make clear, to defend himself. But cracks in his armor begin to appear. He looks hastily at Robyn, hoping for support or even an ally, but her face is impassive, giving nothing away. The pressure of being examined bears down on him, every question making him face decisions he had long desired to be kept hidden. The hours crawl by, each stretching out like a thin wire, the tension never easing. He sees each witness, each answer, each look add to the gathering tempest. The gallery murmurs, a rumble of speculation and expectation, as they feel that the first cracks in the family facade are only the start. A surprise revelation is presented, a letter penned months ago but never spoken in public. The courtroom leans forward as a voice reads the words, accusations, secrets, and personal resentments, each one painstakingly described. Christine's eyes bulge, Meri whispers a gasp, and Janelle's hands shake involuntarily. Kody's face blanches, his hand clenching the lip of the stand. Even Robyn's poised face blinks for the smallest moment. The judge pounds the gavel, calling for order, yet the courtroom remains electric. Every soul inside acutely aware that the family dynamics they thought they understood are shifting rapidly. Every glance exchanged carries weight. Every unspoken thought hangs in the air. As the session draws to a close for a brief recess, the camera pans across the room. Christine's glare, Kody's tension, Meri's anxiety, Janelle's worry, and Robyn's unreadable expression. The gallery hums in hushed tones, rumors of anticipation circulating the room like the steady, insistent beat of a drumhead. Even here, at the beginning of this session, the stakes are made plain. This is not just a drama of courtrooms. It is a very private accounting, a confrontation with the decisions, deceptions, and secrets that have shaped this family for decades. Every character is on a knife edge, walking between defense, accusation, and survival, and the tale has just commenced. The courtroom resumes after the short recess, and the air is thick with an almost palpable tension. The buzz of muffled conversations dissipates as all present realize the next discoveries can turn everything around. Robyn is summoned to the witness stand first. Her movement is slow, calculated, yet her hands reveal a hint of shaking. The ring of her heels on the gleaming floor resounds through the courtroom, a noise that is greater than it has any right to be in the quiet. She catches Kody's eye for an instant, and in its brief duration, a universe of unspoken past rushes between them, decades of trust and betrayal, and unspoken misgivings contained in one look. Robyn speaks softly, almost uncertainly at the beginning, as she starts. "I never wanted this to happen," she says, eyes downcast. "But sometimes the truth demands to be told, whether you're ready or not." The courtroom leans in, each listener captivated, aware that these words may fracture the delicate balance of the family forever. Christine's gaze is sharp, full of suspicion and barely concealed anger. Kody shifts uncomfortably, his fingers tightening around the edge of his seat. Janelle's eyes dart between them, torn between sympathy and terror, as Meri wriggles uneasily, casting occasional glances at Kody, then Robyn. The prosecutor seizes the moment. "Tell the court about the private conversations and secret meetings that you've witnessed, Robyn," he urges, voice cold but calm. Robyn inhales sharply, then recounts moments of confrontation, whispered arguments, and subtle betrayals. She describes nights where the family's fragile harmony teetered on the edge of collapse, and decisions made in secrecy that ultimately set the stage for today's drama. Her words land heavily. Every listener in the courtroom feels the weight of her testimony. Meri's lips press into a tight line, betraying her anxiety. Janelle's hands twitch slightly in her lap. Even the gallery, filled with curious onlookers, leans forward, drawn into the intensity of the unfolding narrative. Kody's eyes flicker with a mix of shame and defiance, the lines of stress etched deeper into his face. The cross-examination begins, sharp and unrelenting. The lawyer questions Robyn for inconsistencies, seeking to undermine her credibility. Robyn swallows, composing herself, as flashes of anger and vulnerability appear on her face. She narrates the events in detail, keeping cool even as emotion tends to consume her. "We've all made choices," she says, voice steady now. But not all of them were fair to each other. Her gaze sweeps the courtroom, landing briefly on Christine, then Kody, before settling on the judge, as if silently pleading for justice to be recognized. Suddenly, the courtroom's atmosphere shifts. A surprise piece of evidence is brought forward, a personal journal, entry that no one saw coming, revealing conversations between Kody and one of the wives regarding financial and personal choices that were never made public. The room appears to collectively hold its breath as the lines are read out loud. Christine's eyes bulge, her mouth falls open slightly as if to say something, but she closes it again. Janelle's fingers quake on the armrest. Meri gnaws her lower lip, and Kody's face goes white. Robyn's face sets, her jaw clenching as she catches on to the effect of her testimony. The judge glances forward, voice steady but firm, commanding order. This court will go on with caution, but all evidence and testimonies will be considered fully. The words have little effect on the tempest raging inside. Whispers in the gallery grow louder, curiosity and rumor mashing into a buzz of tension. Robyn falls silent for a moment, collecting her thoughts, and then releases another bombshell. There were talks of excluding some family members from important decisions, meetings in which opinions were disregarded or overruled. Some decisions were made without regard for all parties concerned. Her voice shakes a little, and Kody fidgets in his seat. Christine's eyes flash with renewed anger, her fingers tightening around her chair as if to hold on tightly. The prosecution continues, and Robyn hesitantly describes an intimate argument she overheard between Kody and Christine that suggests underlying tensions and lingering grudges. The courtroom is a drama, emotion-building tension like a coiled spring waiting to be released. The murmurs of the spectators mingle with the labored breaths of the household, and a tangible buzz of expectation ensues. Meri's reaction is subtle but telling, a barely perceptible shiver as she shifts in her seat. Her thoughts race. Should she intervene? Should she stay silent? Should she brace for what comes next? Janelle's eyes dart back and forth, seeking understanding, while Robyn's gaze locks onto the judge, a silent plea for recognition of the truth she's just shared. Kody's hand rises to rub his temple, a gesture of both frustration and resignation. Next, the courtroom gasps in unison as a recording is entered into evidence, a personal conversation recorded months before, in which the wives talk about confronting Kody about undisclosed decisions. The tension builds and a silence descends upon the gallery. All faces in the courtroom look on in shock, disbelief, and expectation. Christine's breath catches audibly. Janelle leans forward, clutching the armrest. Meri's lips part slightly, and Robyn's eyes glint with a mix of fear and vindication. Kody's expression is unreadable, but the tension in his shoulders betrays the storm raging inside him. The judge taps the gavel gently, calling for restraint, but the undertow of emotion is uncontainable. Every new discovery appears to cut deeper, laying bare wounds long concealed. The family's sensitive equilibrium hangs in the balance, and everyone can sense it. Robyn takes a deep breath and continues, revealing moments of whispered doubt, secret conversations, and unspoken alliances that have shifted the family's dynamics over the years. Her words are precise, yet laden with emotional weight, and the courtroom is riveted. Christine listens with an intensity that borders on fury. Janelle's subtle nods reflect understanding and concern. Meri's quiet gasps punctuate the air. Kody's composure starts to fray, every word piercing through his carefully constructed defenses. As the hearing continues, another piece of evidence comes in, a note written by Kody to Robyn about a personal choice that had far-reaching implications for the family. The judge studies it intensively, then glances up at Kody, his eyes unblinking. The courtroom becomes electric with tension to a near unbearable degree. Each beat of the heart is magnified, each breath whispered aloud. The cross-examination continues to heat up. Robyn responds slowly, painstakingly remembering specifics while keeping her cool, although fine tremors give away the burden of her evidence. A trembling of her hands, a sharp breath before a particularly searing memory. The court appears to hum with tension, each sentence closer to a showdown that will alter everything. At the end of the session, Robyn exits the stand, her shoulders laden with the weight of the truth she has told. The courtroom is still tense, whispers spreading like a wildfire. Christine's stare follows Robyn to her seat, full of unspoken accusation and questions. Kody sits still, the burden of what has just happened weighing him down. Janelle and Meri look at one another, their faces twisted in a blend of fear, concern, and expectation. The session comes to a close for the day, but tensions do not abate. Each participant departs the courtroom with pieces of what they have heard, their heads reeling with expectation, anxiety, and interest. The family's secrets now lie open to the light of day and cannot be hidden. The courtroom falls into a thick silence as Christine is brought back up to the stand. Each movement she makes demands notice. The faint snap of her heels on the shiny floor, the way she clamps down on the rails of the witness stand, her eyes sweeping the room like a hawk sizing up its quarry. Today, Christine carries more than her testimony. She carries years of unresolved resentment, heartbreak, and the fury of being silenced for far too long. Her face is pale, but her eyes burn with intensity. She draws in a shaky breath, glancing at Kody before beginning. "I've carried this for too long," she says, her voice low at first, then gaining strength. "And I won't be silenced anymore." Each word strikes with calculated force, each syllable resonating in the courtroom. The gallery tilts forward, drawn in by the weight of emotion behind her words. Kody fidgets in his chair, the creases of concern etched on his face deepening with each declaration. Christine starts off describing instances of betrayal, clandestine discussions Kody had, decisions made in secret, and instances where she felt her trust was broken. The drama mounts with every disclosure. Her voice slightly shakes, anger and hurt intermingled, but she persists, vowing to be heard. "You think you can guard everyone's feelings by keeping things a secret?" she cuts in abruptly. But the truth always manages to rise to the surface. Janelle leans forward, fists clasped together on her lap, eyes wide with a combination of disbelief and compassion. Meri tightens her lips, attempting to hold it together. As Robyn sits stone-faced, silently absorbing each detail, mind racing through the meaning of Christine's words, the prosecution continues, asking Christine to relate the times she had previously described in such detail. Christine's responses are tempered but hot, each blow landing hard, revealing fissures in the family structure. Kody's bids to interrupt are cut short by the judge's stern hand, indicating that Christine gets to complete without pause. The courtroom waits with bated breath as she relates intimate letters, secret conversations, and betrayals that had hitherto been mere rumors. Then, a bombshell is introduced, a letter submitted into evidence written months earlier, outlining secret plans between two of the wives about confronting Kody and changing the family's structure without his knowledge. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Christine's eyes widen in shock, her hands trembling slightly as she realizes the implications of the letter. Janelle's fingers tighten around the armrest, and Meri's eyes glimmer with anxiety. Kody sits motionless, his jaw clenching while Robyn's calm facade cracks for the merest moment. The courtroom murmurs swell into a buzz, whispers of rumor and incredulity filling the air. The judge holds up a hand for quiet, and the tension chokes like a noose around every person in the room. Each character is ready to snap, the burden of secrets that can change their lives forever hanging over them. Christine's voice rises higher and higher with feeling as she goes on. "I trusted him to be honest with all of us," she says, her eyes shining with tears. "I trusted him to honor the family, to equate our voices, and yet, every choice, every utterance in private has left us broken." The gallery leans forward, enthralled by the emotion in her words. Even Kody, who sits stiffly in his chair, can't tear his eyes away. The cross-examination grows fiercer. The defense lawyer tries to undermine Christine's testimony, questioning her motive and pointing out inconsistencies. Christine is unbending, her eyes burning with conviction. She describes things so vividly, the tone of an exchange, the pause in a word, the faint look on her face, that the courtroom is drawn into her view. All spectators can feel almost the pain, the frustration, the rage she has had for years. Meri's reactions are subtle but telling. A faint shiver, a quick inhale, a tightened grip on her notebook. Janelle watches with a mixture of concern and disbelief, sensing the emotional storm that threatens to overwhelm everyone in the room. Robyn's eyes flash briefly with controlled anger, as if assessing every word and every implication, understanding fully the long-term consequences of Christine's testimony. The drama reaches its climax with the arrival of a surprise witness, a family friend close to Kody and Christine, who asserts to have been present at an intimate conversation between Kody and Christine months earlier. Their new information squarely counters some of Kody's previous testimony, creating a dramatic twist in court. Gasps echo in the air. The gallery is wide-eyed and mouths are a whisper, electric energy on the air. Kody's complexion turns white, the fissures in his facade more obvious. Christine leans in ever so slightly, a faint smile of vindication crossing her lips. Janelle holds her hands tightly together in nervousness, and Meri appears as if the floor has moved under her feet. Christine gathers herself, then drops a bombshell that brings the room to a halt. "Some things can't be repaired," she says softly, nearly sorrowfully. "But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't attempt to meet them head-on." Her words hang there in the air, heavy and ghostly, as Kody lets out a hard breath, tension emanating from him like heat. And then another turn. The judge asks for a taped phone call between two of the wives that would discuss a significant family decision without Kody's knowledge. The recording is played, and all ears in the courtroom stretch to catch the soft whispers, the underlying rage, the anger seeping from the voices. Christine's eyes blaze with anger. Janelle leans in, enthralled, Meri swallows, and Robyn clutches her notebook more tightly. Kody sits frozen, a drop of sweat making its way down his temple, his mind racing to predict what will come next. The tension in the courtroom is stifling. Every utterance, every movement, every hushed response is heavy. The gallery is quiet now, leaning on the arms of their chairs, knowing that what transpires here is more than testimony. It is the unwinding of a family, strand by delicate strand. Christine ends her testimony with emotion and rebellion. Her eyes are blazing, her voice resolute, even as her hands quiver. "I will no longer be silenced," she states. "I will tell the truth, no matter how much it hurts everyone." The gallery breathes in unison. The gravity of her words hangs over the room like a thunderhead. Christine exits the stand, the courtroom humming with murmurs. Kody's jaw is clenched, his eyes roving over the room, gauging every response. Robyn sits quietly, but her mind is patently in full flight. Janelle shares a look with Meri, an understanding without words flowing between them. The crisis has spiraled beyond anything they might have foreseen. The tension is almost intolerable, the emotional level higher than ever. The judge orders a quick recess, and tension hangs in the air. Everyone knows that when the court resumes, the next bombshells will land even more painfully. Christine's testimony has raised the bar, revealed cracks, and raised eyebrows. The tempest is only beginning to rage, and no one in the room can anticipate who will survive it. The courtroom is back in session after the break, and the tension is palpable. The atmosphere is charged, almost suffocating, with anticipation, every inhale a reminder of the burden that overshadows the family. Kody steps up to the stand, his stance tense, fists held tightly in front of him. Every crease on his face speaks volumes of tension, guilt, and the burden of the responsibilities. Now he has to justify not just what he did, but the delicate harmony of his family. Harmony that appears ready to come crashing down at any moment. Christine watches him with a piercing intensity, every muscle in her body taut, ready to pounce on any hesitation. Janelle leans forward slightly, hands pressed together in silent anxiety, while Meri's fingers twist in her lap, betraying her nerves. Robyn sits with an air of quiet composure, but the glint in her eyes reveals that she is watching, calculating, and waiting for every word to tip the scales. The prosecutor starts, questioning Kody for information on decisions that were made behind closed doors, decisions that have had long-term implications for the family. Kody responds cautiously, carefully selecting his words, yet the tension in his voice gives away his fear. He narrates moments of compromise, sacrifices that have been made in the name of family peace, and decisions that were meant to keep everyone safe. His words may seem level-headed on the surface, but the gravity behind them is felt. Christine cuts in with a quick sting, her voice cutting through the tranquility. "Harmony? You call this harmony?" Her speech lingers in the air like a knife. Each head in the courtroom swivels, intrigued by the building tension. Kody gulps hard, nervously glancing at the judge before responding, his tone strained but controlled. "I've always tried to do what's best for all of you," he says, even when the choices were hard. The cross-examination grows more intense. Christine's questions are precise, cutting through Kody's explanations and exposing inconsistencies. Her eyes flash with anger and hurt as she recounts incidents of secrecy and betrayal, moments where Kody's choices undermined the trust of the entire family. The courtroom is charged, the tension so thick it could be sliced with a knife. Janelle testifies next, her voice quiet, uncertain but passionate. She discusses doubt, fear, and the pain of being left behind. Every sentence bears the weight of years of unexpressed hurt. Her hands shake a little, and her eyes flick between Kody and Christine, torn between loyalty and desperation. Meri's eyes fill with quiet tears as she listens, understanding the pain but unsure where her allegiances lie. Robyn remains composed, her hands folded in her lap, her gaze steady, but the subtle tension in her jaw hints at internal conflict. The prosecutor cuts in a second time, holding up a new bit of evidence, an intimate email thread between Kody and one of the wives regarding sensitive family secrets that had been hidden away. The courtroom gasps as a whole. Christine's hands clinch around the arm of the chair, her jaw hardening in outrage. Janelle's eyes bulge, Meri fidgets, and Robyn's face sets in a stern look as she digests the ramifications. Kody's face goes white in a moment, his brain struggling to project the repercussions of this new information. As Kody goes on with his testimony, he speaks of intimate moments, detailing his motives and reasoning for the choices that have brought such strife. His voice cracks from time to time, exposing the emotional cost of defending decisions that have caused pain to those he loves. Christine hears in silence, sometimes muttering to herself, her irritation building. Janelle bends forward, whispering to her lawyer, not taking her eyes from Kody. Meri blots at the tear on her cheek, and Robyn sits in silence, her brain taking in every detail. The most dramatic moment comes when a surprise witness appears, a close family member who says he overheard Kody and two of the wives talking in conflict with several things he has said. The courtroom responds immediately. Gasps, mutters, and involuntary changes in seating position ripple through the assembly. Kody's hands shake a little as he listens, and Christine's eyes sparkle with a blend of vindication and outrage. Janelle and Meri exchange uneasy glances, whereas Robyn's face is remained studiously neutral. Although tension around her eyes gives away her anxiety, the prosecutor pushes on, asking questions about the inconsistencies exposed by the witness. Kody's voice constricts as he attempts to explain, but the contradictions become harder and harder to justify. Each new revelation erodes the tightly guarded illusion of control, and the courtroom seems to be on the brink of collapse into anarchy. Then comes the surprise that shatters everyone's stunned silence. The witness brings out a secret tape, a conversation between two of the wives about how they plan to confront Kody in the parking lot outside court. The tone is hushed, almost furtive, but what they're saying is incendiary. The gallery leans forward, entranced. Christine's gasp can be heard, her fists clenching hard. Janelle pins them together in anxious expectation. Meri nibbles on her lower lip, and Robyn's eyes flash with fear and calculation. Kody is seated stiffly, the shock of being blindsided by this discovery settling in. Kody breathes deeply, trying to compose himself. He clarifies that most of his decisions were made to keep the family safe, but he does admit that his decisions brought pain. His tone is even but laced with fatigue, and for a moment, the courtroom is enveloped in an awkward silence. Each of his listeners appears to feel the weight of the family's shared past, one full of love, conflict, compromise, and heartbreak. Christine leans forward, her voice slicing through the silence. "You don't get to decide what defends us," she states, her eyes burning. "Your decisions have repercussions, and we are all experiencing them." Her words have the effect of bouncing off the walls of the room, leaving the taste of accusation and reality lingering after them. Janelle and Meri nod slightly, their facial expressions confirming the truth of her words, while Robyn holds steady, unobtrusively taking mental note of each response. The hearing goes on with dramatic testimony from Meri and Janelle, each detailing moments of pain, suspicion, and miscommunication. The voices of the two women combine in a chorus of emotional honesty that impeaches Kody's defense. The gallery is captivated. Even the viewers far away would sense the tension climbing with every utterance. The courtroom seems to hold its breath collectively, knowing full well that these disclosures would permanently alter the family's course. The judge demands order, his tone smooth but firm. This court acknowledges the emotional significance of the testimonies testified. "We will go cautiously, but the burden of evidence and emotion cannot be discounted." The authority of the gavel notwithstanding, the tension in the room is palpable, almost charged, as though everyone can sense the coming climax percolating just below the surface. With the session nearing an end, a last-minute twist comes. A previously unknown piece of evidence makes an appearance, a letter that recounts a secret decision by Kody that may fan the flames of animosity further among the wives. The courtroom responds immediately. Christine gasps in shock, her fists clenching. Janelle presses forward, her heart racing. Meri opens her mouth in shock, and Robyn's face sets, bracing for repercussions. Kody remains still, the pressure of possible repercussions weighing down like a physical pressure. The judge bangs the gavel, signaling recess, but the energy lingers in the room. Every face tells a story. Christine's fury, Kody's anxiety, Janelle's worry, Meri's apprehension, Robyn's quiet calculation. The gallery whispers among themselves, aware that what unfolds next could be catastrophic. The courtroom is hushed when the judge brings the session to order. The atmosphere is thick with tension, akin to a storm waiting to be unleashed. Kody is seated stiffly, hands folded firmly in his lap, eyes darting around the room as though seeking some intangible reinforcement. Each thing, the highly polished wooden benches, the ring of footsteps, the scent of paper and coffee, is heightened, a reminder that today is not business as usual. Today, secrets long concealed are poised to burst forth into light. Christine stands up first, her very presence commanding notice. Her eyes flash, full of anger and grief, every feature of her face etched with years of deception and disillusion. She breathes in, allowing the silence to descend about her before she continues. "I've spent my whole life waiting to be heard," she starts, her voice low and even, "and I will not have it silenced any longer." The courtroom is on edge, drawn by the unvarnished truth and power in what she's saying. Kody shifts in his seat, the weight of her gaze pressing down on him. Janelle's hands clutch the armrest nervously, and Meri's fingers twist in her lap, betraying her anxiety. Robyn sits a few rows away, her expression unreadable, but her eyes are sharp, scanning every reaction, every micro-expression. There is a quiet calculation in her demeanor, as if she knows how crucial these next moments will be. The prosecutor presents a new witness, a friend of the family who testifies to hearing Kody talk about sensitive family financial decisions and personal ones, decisions never shared with the wives. The courtroom leans forward as a whole. Gasps ring out from the gallery as the friend testifies to hearing conversations that expose favoritism, secrecy, and manipulation. Christine's eyes light up with a burst of anger and validation. Janelle's lips part slightly, her anxiety mounting. Meri's breath catches and Robyn's eyes narrow, the implications not lost on her. Kody rises to respond, his voice calm but tense. "I made decisions to protect the family," he says, each word carefully chosen. Every choice was made with the intention of keeping peace and ensuring everyone's well-being. His eyes flick briefly to Christine, who leans forward, disbelief written across her face. "Peace?" she cuts in harshly. "Your peace has come at the cost of all of us." The judge observes closely, his face expressionless but authoritative. "Mr. Brown," he declares, "go on, but be precise in speaking to the charges made today." Kody swallows hard, a drop of perspiration appearing at the temple, and describes events with careful attention. He describes compromise, sacrifice, and efforts to reconcile competing needs, but each statement is received with suspicious glances from the audience and piercing stares from the wives. The tension rises further when a confidential letter is submitted into evidence. The courtroom collectively leans in as the contents are read aloud, accusations, hidden decisions, and personal grievances meticulously documented. Janelle's hands tremble slightly, Meri's lips part, Christine grips the edge of her seat, and Robyn's face hardens, her jaw tight. Kody's composure begins to fray, his voice wavering as he responds to each point. Christine takes the opportunity to address Kody personally. "You believe that your silence shielded us," she tells him, voice shaking with rage. "But all it did was harm all of the people you profess to love." Her words linger in the air like a scalpel, slicing through the courtroom tension. Kody swallows hard, attempting to keep his cool, but the fissures are there. Janelle is up next, and she climbs onto the stand hesitantly. Her tone is gentle initially, quavering slightly as she describes feelings of isolation, confusion, and terror. "I've always tried to see the good in everyone," she whispers, "but there were times I felt invisible, unheard, and disregarded." The courtroom is hushed, the impact of her words tangible. Kody fidgets, guilt flashing on his face as Christine leans forward, silently critical. Meri's eyes glisten, the subtle quiver of her lips betraying her anxiety. Robyn sits motionless, though the tension in her shoulders is unmistakable. Next is the most sensational turn of events to date. A tape of a conversation between two of the wives about secret showdowns with Kody is played in open court. The whispering, the anger in their voices, the behind-the-back betrayals, all details echo in the courtroom. Christine makes a sharp intake of breath. Janelle leans forward, clutching her chair. Meri nips at her lip, and Kody's face turns whiter than white. Robyn's eyes blaze with fury, drinking in each word and weighing its effect. The prosecutor pounces. "Mr. Brown," he intones, voice cold but unyielding, "how do you answer this testimony of clandestine deliberations and decision-making without the knowledge or agreement of all the family members?" Kody takes a deep breath, trying to compose himself. I thought I was acting in the best interest of all of us," he states tightly, his eyes darting back and forth between the wives. "I never meant to hurt anybody," Christine interrupts, her voice rising with anger. "Intentions don't erase consequences," she snaps. "And the consequences of your secrecy have hurt us all deeply." Her gaze is unwavering, a mixture of pain and righteous fury. Janelle shifts uncomfortably while Meri's eyes fill with tears, and Robyn's expression hardens, the stakes clear. The judge calls for a brief recess, but the tension doesn't dissipate. Each whisper in the gallery, each look between relatives, each pulsation in the room appears magnified. Kody sits with head in hands, reworking the testimonies in his mind. Christine leans back ever so slightly, her chest heaving, her eyes remaining locked on him. Janelle wipes her hands against her skirt. Meri quietly blots her eyes with a tissue, and Robyn looks at Kody with a calculated intensity. When the session resumes, Kody is clearly tense, but he tries a last defense, retelling years of compromise, hard choices, and efforts to preserve harmony. His voice cracks as he speaks of moments of regret, moments when he wished he had spoken more openly. Christine listens carefully, each word feeding her doubt. Janelle and Meri look at each other, the burden of emotional honesty weighing heavily upon them. Robyn's eyes stay keen, her lips pursed, considering the testimony thoughtfully. One last surprise disclosure shatters the courtroom. A personal diary entry from one of the wives comes to light, revealing intimate reflections on the family's internal struggles and secret alliances. The courtroom responds immediately. Christine's fingers clench on the stand, her voice catching at the import. Janelle's eyes bulge, Meri bites her lip, and Robyn's demeanor changes slightly as she takes in the seriousness of the entry. Kody's shoulders droop, the burden of judgment weighing down from all sides. As the hearing comes to a close, the judge warns everyone that the hearing will reconvene, indicating that the next day will be decisive. The gallery is a susurrus of quiet, every viewer knowing they've seen only a fraction of the emotional storm. Christine descends, her eyes ablaze with resolve. Kody sits, clenched jaw muscles, staring off into space. Janelle and Meri share anxious glances, and Robyn patiently takes up her notes, her mind already computing the next step. The courtroom gradually empties, leaving behind a tense silence, a residue of tension and unasked questions. The emotional burden of the revelations of the day has settled like a dense fog over all present.